Welcome to the Dr. Diane Show, where we explore revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. With over 20 years of expertise as a mindset warrior, perspective shifter, and unshakable optimist, I am dedicated to helping you reach your wildest dreams in business, health, performance, and relationships. Learn about the power of thought and how it shapes your life to take risks, change careers, find love, go on adventures, and live passionately with me, Dr. Diane. Get ready for revolutionary ways of thinking, being, and creating an amazing life. The Dr. Diane Show starts now. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Diane Hayden, and you are listening to the Dr. Diane Show on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour, where we will explore revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul. Each time on the Dr. Diane Show, we have experts from around the country discussing cutting-edge topics on longevity medicine, natural health, mindset, and soul purpose to help you shift your perspective and become a mindset warrior like me. I'm excited today to have Dr. Jake Berman on with me. He is a biomechanics expert and has a doctorate in physical therapy, and he literally wrote the book, The Berman Method of Golf Performance, on how to move better so that you can hit the ball further and strike the ball more consistently. Over the years, Dr. Berman started to help tons of golfers and to see a connection between the strength and mobility of specific and muscle groups and improvements in distance and consistency. This led to further independent research by Dr. Berman, and ultimately the development of the Berman Method of Golf Performance. Dr. Berman's original focus with Berman Golf was to specifically help aging golfers move better so they could hit the ball farther, strike the ball more consistently, and play more frequently without nagging aches and pains. This is all the motivation Dr. Berman needs. There's nothing more than helping a golfer regain their confidence and competitive edge when most others use age excuse and give up altogether. So welcome, Dr. Jake. How are you today?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. So we're going to be talking about all things before we get that, which I know that's probably like your favorite subject to talk about, right? We are going to learn a little more about you. So more about your background, how you got into this whole line of work, and then we'll get into the meat of golf performance.
Awesome. Golf it's actually not my favorite topic to talk about, opposed to what I'm trying to help the golfers do, which is keep out there, keep living the highest quality of life. And that's very high on how I got started when I opened up my physical therapy business. Ultimate goal, I didn't know it at the time. However, it's crystal clear now. My ultimate goal in the physical therapy practice is to help you avoid surgery and pain pills while maintaining the highest quality of life. So doing everything that I can to help you avoid a knee replacement, hip replacement, back surgery, because we know for a fact that 8 out of 10 people that have those surgeries, you're not getting back to the prior level or prior quality of life that you had prior to the surgery. And that is really what got me started, was trying to figure out what is wrong with the traditional Western medicine world and what are we missing? This cannot be the answer, because if it was the answer, then everybody would be doing it. Like if you had to have a knee replacement, then everybody would have to. If a knee replacement was inevitable, why do you only have to have one on one side and not the other side? That was probably the biggest thing that really got me about this, was if a knee replacement is normal, why do so many people only have one done and the other one is quote unquote good? It's like you're just one side is defective and not the other side. You got that crappy of a
You're
set of
only using one knee.
yeah, it's like, how are you walking?
It's ridiculous.
So that's how I got started, and it just got me down this rabbit hole, which actually ended up being a really good rabbit hole, because we're helping a ton of people avoid surgery and pain pills and maintain a very high quality of life.
Yeah, in fact, it's interesting. I bet many people come to you probably for golf performance, not even realizing that there's this whole other benefit in terms of what you're going to help them with, maybe possibly avoiding hip replacement surgery.
You're hitting the nail on the head, because I cannot tell you how many times on day one a golfer will come in and say, I want more distance. And I'm looking at a swing going, Yeah, but you're not turning at all. Your hip is stuck. Your knee is horrible. Your back, there's no mobility. Your posture is crap. I can more distance, but something's going to break. Why don't we go in the other room over there and try to fix this mechanical problem before we come over here and start working harder and not smarter?
Yeah. I mean, that's the basis of everything that you do, right? It's basically fixing the biomechanics, which then literally translates into this person being having better performance.
Exactly. The most simplest look at it is biomechanics is just the way the body moves. So the body was designed to move very efficiently. And in my opinion, the reason why it doesn't move efficiently is because what you and I are both doing right now, which is sitting in a chair. If you go to third world countries, they don't have chairs. They're either standing or they're doing a full squat, ass to grass, and they don't have the problems that we have. Their body efficiently to the day they die because if they want to go have a movement, they got to pop a squat.
So interesting. Like I never thought about it like that. I mean, we do think of the fact that so many people in this country have sedentary jobs where they're sitting at a desk for like 8, 9 hours a day, some even longer. But how that contributes to the deterioration. And so it gets you start thinking like, wow, everybody thinks that all these things go wrong because we're aging. Like we become less flexible, we become, things start to break down, we have joint issues. Oh, of course, it's because we're aging. But is it really that, or is it really more the fact of what are we doing, with our bodies, or quote not doing on a day-to-day basis?
That brings up one of my most favorite sayings ever, and it's not mine. I saw it somewhere. I don't know where it was, but it's he who rests rots. And we think that just because we exercise for 30 minutes or 60 minutes a day, we're not resting, we're active. But if you really do the math, think about it. You're not sitting just 8 or 10 hours a day. You're sitting 14, 15 hours a day because you wake up, you go and you sit down to eat breakfast. You walk to your car, you sit in your car to drive to work. You walk into your office, you sit at work for the entire day. You walk back to your car, you sit in your car to drive home. You walk inside, you sit down to eat dinner. You do the dishes, you walk to the couch to watch television, and then you walk to the bathroom, brush your teeth, and you go to bed. So you're really sitting 14, 15 hours a day if you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, wow, that's crazy. No, you just outlining that whole thing is really crazy. It's like, wow. I mean, we don't think about that. Like you said, we think, okay, I go to the gym 30 minutes or maybe I'll walk for a half hour or whatever, but we really should be getting up every hour and doing something. I mean, what do you recommend to your patients and clients who
If you
have like
can, yeah,
sedentary jobs like that? Yeah.
if you can give me 60 seconds every 20 minutes, you are way better at the end of the day than if you don't. And when you think about it that way, that's really easy. Every 20 minutes, just give me 60 seconds. Stand up, get your chest up, pull your belly button in, squeeze your ass as hard as you can, and just hold it for 60 seconds. You can keep on having a conversation. You can still breathe. You can still read an email. Just do it every 20 minutes. Give me 60 seconds every 20 minutes. Your life will be so much better at the end of the day, end of the week, end of the month, end of the year than if you, and it's nothing crazy. So that's the biggest thing that I ask my clients to do is I don't give any something that I wouldn't do myself. And the typical quote unquote cookie cutter physical therapy prescription is do these exercises 3 to 5 times a day. It's like, what? Like, do you want me to retire and just make time to do this 20 to 30-minute exercise routine 3 to 5 times a day? No, that's not realistic. But if you can give me 60 seconds an hour, 60 seconds twice an hour, 60 seconds 3 times an hour, that's really, really doable when you think about it like that.
Yeah, literally. And if all you're asking people to do is just get out of their chair and stand and do, some basically isometric contractions, or even like a couple squats or something like that, that anybody can do, even if they're on the phone.
Anybody can do it. The problem is the majority won't do it because it's actually work. There has to be a reason. So it's not until something that you truly love and really care for that's taken away from you that you'll do it, because an ounce of prevention over a pound of cure, Americans, that's like Swahili. That doesn't mean anything to Americans. It's like, screw that. I'll just wait for the damn thing to break, then I'll start fixing it. So it's gotta mean something to you before you do it.
Yeah. And it's so true. I mean, it really is, in terms of just people's mentality about what they, the amount of effort they want to put into exercise, or even something as simple as this that you're recommending, for sure. We're going to talk a lot about golf. That's our main focus here, and what you do for golfers, especially as they're getting older in life and seeing their performance decline. But I wanted to make a point about the knee replacement thing, because as you were saying that, and you and I did another TTR show. So if people look in the archives, we did a show over the summer that basically talked about what you do for physical therapy. And we got into more about knee replacement and hip replacement. But I have to tell you that literally everyone I talked to who's had a knee replacement lately, most of the reason why they have the knee replacement is because they're in pain. They've got pain in their knee, and whatever the diagnosis is, they jump right in, like, okay, they think that that's what's going to solve it. Everyone I talk to is still in pain after the knee replacement. And I'm not talking about like, a weeks or months where you might expect your healing and all that. I'm talking like a year later. It's crazy.
It is nuts. And we could go down this road, but we don't need to. There's a whole hour we talked about this on that other episode. But you're hitting the nail on the head. The knee pain is a symptom of something else not doing its job. And 99% of the time, it's not because it's bone on bone. It is something either above or below the knee, not the knee itself, usually something in the hip, the glute, the foot, and the ankle, and it's not the knee. So you replace the damn thing. You got a brand new mechanics in there, but it's not fixing the problem or the symptom of the pain.
Right. Exactly. So, and for people who are listening to this and want more information about Dr. Jake's opinion on knee replacement, listen to our show back in July. And it's great. I mean, we went over so much good information just about, the philosophy and what you're talking about. And it's so fascinating to me that, like, literally someone can be in that much pain, and all you really, I'm not saying all you have to do, but I'm not, well, what I'm saying is it's not that it's not work, but literally you basically teach them some different exercises and different, different mechanics, different ways to strengthen certain muscles and things like that. And all of a sudden, the pain goes away and they don't need a knee replacement.
Exactly. And that is so evident because after you have the knee replacement, you still have pain. So the cause of the pain cannot be the joint itself. Because if you had the knee replacement because of the quote unquote bad joint, have pain after the knee replacement, then there's 0% chance that pain came from the knee joint. I mean, don't overthink this thing, people. The pain is not coming from the joint, it's coming from the soft tissues surrounding the joint because something above or below is not doing its job. And you don't fix that problem by replacing the joint.
Exactly. I love it. Well, we're going to get into a lot more. You're listening to the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll explore more with Dr. Jake Berman. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. But before we continue, I want to make sure everyone knows how to contact me. You can find me at www.drdianehayden.com, or at either of my two publications, www.essentialnaples.com or www.naturalnutmeg.com. And you can learn more about Dr. Jake Berman at www.bermangolf.com. That's BERMANGOLF.com. So welcome back, Dr. Jake. We were talking about just the myths about needing a knee replacement and busting some of those. But this show is more specifically about what you do with golf performance. So tell us a little bit about your golf performance business. How is it different from, the other thousands of programs that are out there?
Love it. Absolutely love it. And the simplest way to say it is that I'm focusing on helping you generate more power from the muscles that you already have to make your golf swing more efficient. It's as simple as that. Not as easy, but it is that simple, meaning that I don't initially I don't care if you have the ugliest golf swing or the prettiest golf swing. If you're not using the right muscles at the right time, there is 0% chance you're going to be efficient. And if it's not efficient, that means it's inefficient. That'd be obvious. And if it's inefficient, it will be inconsistent. And if it's inconsistent, it's going to break down and it's not going to lead to the golf game that you want to have. So saying all that, come back full circle to how did I get this thing in the first place? Started off in the physical therapy practice, specializing in helping golfers with back pain get back out on the golf course. This is super long story short. These golfers started telling me that they were hitting the ball better now than they had in years. So I said, okay, what if I did a similar intervention with somebody who didn't have back pain? Would they still hit the ball better than they were hitting it, specifically for aging golfers, 50s, 60s, 70-year-old golfers? The answer was yes, they did. So then I had to start fine tuning it and doing my own case studies. What was giving us the most juice out of the squeeze, specifically for aging golfers? And it came down to core and glute activation and utilization, specifically during the backswing transitioning into the. That is where 99.9% of all of the crap occurs in amateur golfers is the transition of the backswing to the downswing. So what I started doing was, first of all, showing people what it felt like to actually use their core and glutes in specific positions in the backswing. And this 99% of the time, the answer was, oh my goodness, that's what it feels like to use my glutes. That's what it feels like to use my core. So that's the problem with the thousands of other places out there doing this thing is they're telling you, go do some core strengthening, get the glutes firing, get stronger, work on your shoulder turn, increase your flexibility. The problem is you, the consumer, you don't know what it actually feels like to utilize that increased strength and range of motion at the exact time that you need it in the golf swing. And that's what I specialize in, is helping you know what it feels like to actually do those things.
Is it also, are you also having people, let's say someone has not ever really lifted weights, and obviously as you get older your muscle mass is decreasing, and I'm imagining that's one of the reasons why your golf game gets worse, because you're losing muscle as well and power. Do you, is it also not just the biomechanics of it? Is it also basically training people on that they have to start lifting and strengthening their muscles? Is it really more just the subtle differences in how somebody uses their biomechanics?
Initially, it's the subtleness of using their biomechanics. So I can tell you with complete honesty, over the thousands of people that I've worked with in Southwest Florida and now internationally, nationally, and internationally, virtually, that 99% of amateur golfers do not use their body the way that you should use it. Meaning that the vast majority, 99% of amateur golfers are arm swingers. They're flipping at it. They might get a little bit of body turn, but they're primarily flipping at it. We're all guilty of it. I was guilty of it. And that's why I was the biggest beneficiary of this Berman method thing, because it helped my game out. I gained 30 yards off the tee once I learned how to use my body. So, step number one, no muscles or Bryson DeChambeau, ton of muscles. You've got to know how to use your body efficiently. Once you can use it efficiently, then we can start saying, okay, well, let's work on building these muscles. Let's get stronger. Let's get even more juice out of the squeeze. However, right out of the gate, the lowest hanging fruit, let's learn how to use what you currently have efficiently.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's so interesting that people, people who start golfing probably are never taught, or if they were, they've long forgotten the importance of the how you use your body in it, lower body.
It's so true. And this is a perfect example of if you're told, you know, traditional golf philosophy, golf technique, golf lessons is taught through telling. So you go and you take a golf lesson, the golf pro tells you what to do. He might show you on the computer screen or the TV. He might pull up a video of one of those that plays on Sunday, and he puts your video right next to it, and he goes, see where he's at right here? This is where I need you to be at. And this is 70-year-old Bob going, what in the
Yeah,
hell?
sure.
That guy's 25 years old and he exercises 40 hours a week and plays 5 rounds a week, and he's got a team of 10. But anyways, typical traditional golf lessons is done through telling, teaching, talking, and watching. The problem with that is you, the student, have to then interpret what is being said and then try to regurgitate it, reproduce it. The problem always occurs in the interpretation phase because in order for good communication to occur, this is marriage counseling 101. I have to be able to say something. You have to be able to hear it and interpret it exactly the way I wanted it to be interpreted. The problem is if you don't know what it feels like to be in that position, then you're going to be thinking one thing, but your body's doing another thing, and there's cognitive dissonance, and you just leave frustrated. And that's why the majority of amateur golfers leave golf lessons more frustrated than when they got there.
Right. Yeah, so that's interesting. I mean, that I would say is probably the biggest difference between your practice and other golf performance is that you're teaching people how to actually feel the way that they're supposed to swing the club.
That is the simplest way to say it right there. If you don't know what it feels like at it all day, I get it. I see it. Before I knew this, I knew what it was supposed to look like. Hell, I even thought that my swing was just as pretty as Tiger Woods in the 2000s. And I saw my own swing on video and on, it's all arms. It's not moving at all.
Yep. Yep. But like you said, it's more than just showing them a video. It's actually, physically having them. So how you mentioned that you do things virtually. How do you do this from a virtual perspective if you don't have the person like physically right in front of you?
Love it, love it, love it. So that was one of the best things that COVID did for us in the physical therapy practice was I only used my hands to get people better pre-COVID. If I couldn't put my hands on you, there was no way I could get you better. I was forced to figure it out through a computer screen in 6 weeks, or we were going out of business.
Yep.
It's like, oh, wow. I had to get really, really creative. So I've got tons and tons of tricks and tips and little strategies to guide you through the computer screen so that you can actually feel it re-emphasize or reinforce by constant feedback. All right, what are you feeling now? Where are you feeling that? What exactly is the position looking like on my end? If I'm looking at it and you're telling me what you're feeling, then I can adjust those two things to where it is almost impossible that we're getting it wrong because communication is actually occurring.
Right. Yeah, I love that. I mean, you're not the practitioner. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I worked with to basically take their practices online. It was like in like you said, in a matter of weeks, or they're going to be out of business. Which we're laughing about it now. It wasn't funny then. It was like a scramble. But and thank God for Zoom, because if that platform wasn't around, I don't know what we would have done.
Yeah, should have invested in that before that
Yeah,
happened.
exactly. Well, hindsight is 2020. So, what are some other myths or misconceptions you hear about your services or the golf performance industry that you want to enlighten our listeners with?
One of the biggest myths is that all golf lessons are similar. You go and somebody tells you what to do and you try to regurgitate it. Our golf lessons, I'll do real quotes. I forgot we got video here. Our lessons here, there's nothing like what you experience at other places. Our in-person sessions, we're putting our hands on you, pushing you around. Do you feel that muscle working there? Do you feel that? And it's an actual workout. And because we're putting our hands on you and you can feel that, you don't have to interpret it and you're getting the result so much faster. And you can leave an hour session sweating, dripping wet, going, holy cow, now I know what it feels like to get a real shoulder turn, what it feels like to fire my glutes and load the trail leg in the backswing and get the core firing. Versus typical golf lessons, you're getting the technical philosophy where it's based off of golf technique and golf philosophy. This is the way the golf swing should be done. With us, it's like I'm looking at you biomechanically. If this is virtual, I'm looking at you. What's your strengths and weaknesses? What is your thoracic mobility? What's your hip mobility? What am I going to be able to optimize versus based off of the way your body moves or doesn't move? I'm not going to ask you to do X, Y, Z. So making sure that it's something that is tailored exactly to who you are, your physical ability, and really your mental goals. Like, what is it that you really want to achieve from this? And making sure that we have realistic outcomes versus, okay, well, let's sign up for some lessons and just hopefully you'll be a better golfer at the end of this. Well, how do you objectify that? What's the objective data that says, yes, you are a better golfer, or yes, this was a good return on investment. Your club head speed went up this much, your ball speed went up that much, your carry went up that much, your consistency. So the spread, now we can take a third of the fairway out of the equation. So now we can actually hit driver off the tee and not worry about it going OB.
Yep, I love it. In fact, I think it was the first time I met you. We were actually at a health fair at Treviso Bay, and we're in Jake's practices in Naples, Florida. And I actually saw you with this woman who came over, and she was all curious about what you did. And I saw you actually, like line her up, get behind her, kind of positioning her. And I remember her being like, "Oh my gosh, this feels totally different than like the way I normally am." So it was fascinating to me just to watch some of the subtle things that you did in terms of getting her to just shift a few things, and it seemed like it was going to be a huge difference for her. So I want to talk more about that when we come back. We need to take a short break. When we come back, we'll be talking more about golf performance with Dr. Jake Berman. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden, and I am talking today with Dr. Jake Berman. His website is www.bermangolf.com. And before we just took a quick break, we were just talking about some myths and misconceptions about basically the golf performance industry. And I was telling listeners about how you explain, essentially how you work with people and how different you are in terms of actually getting them to feel the difference in the way that they're standing and They're actually engaging core muscle groups to be able to wing the ball better and shoot longer and all that. And I was saying, yeah, I actually remember the first time we met, we were at a health fair, and I remember you working with this woman. In like a couple of minutes, she was already like, oh my God, I totally didn't even realize that I was not engaging, this muscle group or that. And I can totally tell the difference. So that was the one point I think we wanted to stress, in how you were different from other golf performance or golf trainers in terms of what you do. But there's also some other myths that you wanted to chat about, so tell us what those are.
Two of the biggest ones that I hear on a regular basis, especially with my aging golfers, is if I could just increase my shoulder turn, I'm going to gain more distance. If I could just increase my club head speed, I'd gain more distance. And the brutal reality of it is not true at all, specifically if you're over the age of 60. The older you get, the more untrue those statements become. And the reason being is because the body moves so much differently. So I'm regularly working with golfers that are 65, 75, even 80 years old, that are doing everything they possibly can with speed sticks, trying to swing faster, trying to increase their club head speed just to gain an extra couple of yards when they lost 40 or 50 yards. And they're just frustrated because they're working so hard. They might get a hold of it once and it goes 10 yards further, but they lost 50 yards. And the brutal reality of it is that speed, after the age of 60, speed is irrelevant without power. And this is really what the method was founded on. And I argue back and forth with golfers on this statement all the time. And what I do is I always go back to the laws of physics. So the Berman method was founded on the law of physics. You have either a momentum-based swing or power-based swing. An example of a power-based swing is Jon Rahm. So Jon Rahm is one of the best players on tour. He has one of the most compact golf swings on the tour, and it is all power-based, meaning there's no momentum at all, meaning that he can control every single position statically of his dynamic swing, versus the opposite. Every amateur golfer that I work with, their backswing in real time, the club's getting parallel, the shaft's parallel to the ground, their hands are higher than the club head, and it's this whippy motion. I'm bringing it back, then I'm whipping it down as fast as I can, but they can't hold that position statically if I ask them to. Now, we kind of went in the weeds there a little bit, but it's
It's
important.
good though. Yeah,
It's
it's good.
important to know, because if you can't hold the top of your backswing statically that you get to in the dynamic real time, then you have a momentum-based swing and you're like 99% of the rest of the amateur golfers out there, which means that after the age of 60, speed will do nothing to give you more distance because of the laws of physics. If the easiest way, get my book, The Berman Method, on Amazon or my website, and I got it outlined. You can see it in Instagram. Look at the equation for momentum. How do you gain more momentum, more distance, versus how do you gain more distance with using power? And it's very simple. As you get older, you tend to swing lighter clubs, not heavier clubs. And you tend to swing those clubs slower, not faster. So if you're using those numbers in the momentum equation, it's not possible for it to go farther. Even if you increase the speed by 2 or 3 miles an hour, which is very difficult for a 70-year-old golfer to do, it's really insignificant in the output. Versus if you go to the power equation and you increase the amount of power being delivered to the golf ball, which is very simple to do, not easy, very simple to do, because power is how many muscles do you have working to deliver the object, the club head, to the static golf ball, the static object, the golf ball. So it's simple physics. And what we found is time after time again, we are gaining 10 more yards with a 7-iron in the first 2 to 3 sessions with only 1 mile an hour club head increase. Now, that doesn't make sense if you go to the PGA of America, because they say for every 1 mile an hour club head speed that you increase, you should gain 2.8 yards of carry. Well, we're gaining 1 mile an hour club head speed, but we're gaining on average 10 yards of carry. And this is where I go back and forth with golf pros versus laws of physics. I'm a laws of physics guy. This is proven. This is not some technical jargon that you say works, right? The laws of physics say the reason why that's happening is because you're hitting that golf ball with more power. The golf technique guys, and the reason why that's happening is because you're getting better ball contact. Well, what the hell does that mean, right? You're striking it better on the club face. You got more center of contact. Okay, great. I'll buy that. But they're also adding more power to the equation. So you can't deny this physics just because this technical thing sounds good, right? So this is one of the biggest misconceptions I'm overcoming on a regular basis is I don't need you to swing faster. I don't even need you to gain more club shoulder turn. I just need to deliver the club head to the golf ball we're using. And it's very similar to John Rahm, and you're gonna be happier. The ball's gonna go farther, straighter, more consistently.
Do you find that it's the case even with younger golfers that they're not using power? And if you can teach them how to do that, they would be even more successful?
100% accurate. I'm a perfect example where because you're younger, your body moves very fluidly, very flexible. You can get away with wrapping it around. And if you're athletic enough, you can get away with making contact and you can get a really good result. Problem that younger people have, myself included, I still struggle with this, is when you limit the motion of the backswing to a very controlled motion versus this fast whippy motion, it just feels weak. It feels like it's not as much fun or ballistic or dynamic, or it feels like it's not going to go as far. So it's a very challenging game for younger people to apply this because it doesn't resonate. You don't have the physical limitations that older golfers have, and they're like, okay, this makes sense. The other way obviously doesn't make sense. But me, for example, when I first started, I could hit 1 out of 15 off the tee that's bombing at 300 yards. Yeah, I got that one. The other 14 out of 15 off the tee, 230, 240, maybe a 250. And I'm going, what in the world? It's just because I was using way too much momentum, not enough consistency. There wasn't enough power, and nothing was good about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that's so interesting about you, obviously your perspective, but it's your background. I mean, how many, and listen, I mean, I could be being, I'm going to ask this question and it could be a totally naive question, but it's popping into my head. But how many golf trainers, golf pros, do you think have a physical therapy or exercise physiology or that kind of background that really understand the biomechanics of the body?
Less than 1%.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's actually one here in town in Naples. He's a physical therapist who specializes in golf performance, and it is nothing like what we're doing here. He is doing exactly what traditional, typical golf philosophy preaches, which is you can get it off of Google, you can get it off YouTube. Go onto YouTube and search golf flexibility drills, golf strength drills, and this is exactly what he does. So just because he has the expertise doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to utilize it the way that he could utilize it if he used his expertise versus just piggybacking off of golf philosophy.
Yeah. So I think, what's, like I said, what's unique about you, so interesting is just, to me, if I was in this position of, an older golfer and wanting to do all these things performance wise, it would be attractive to me, but also from from the physical side of it as well. Like, maybe the reason I'm struggling is because I do have back pain or I do have knee issues. And so, like in the beginning of this show, how about if we go over to the physical therapy side and we take care of these other things? We show you different ways of moving and strengthening and all that, eliminate your pain, and then focus on the performance. It's like you're getting two for one by going to see you.
Yes, exactly. It's like, is this BOGO really happening? Like, how good could this possibly be?
Exactly. I love it. I love it totally. Um, So let's talk a little bit more about we're going to have to take a quick break in a minute, but I just wanted to ask you, what's one thing you wish our listeners knew about your business that maybe they don't know?
That it's different. I wish they knew that it's different because it's so common that it all is the same. If I've taken golf lessons before and it doesn't work. And the other thing that I wish people knew is that we are still maintaining to date a 100% success rate with every single person that has gone through an in-person program on either gaining distance, consistency, or being able to play more frequently. So we're maintaining 100% success rate. There's not a single golf performance program in this world that is maintaining 100% success rate. So now you know that this thing is different. If you give me the effort and we hit the nail on the head, meaning we both agree that this is what we're going to fix, you're going to get the results that you're looking for. And if it's not, I'm going to tell you in the first session, listen, you're asking for something that's not realistic, or I don't know, you've got this physical limitation and I don't think it's likely. I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm going to tell you right out of the gate, we're going to reach it or we're not.
I love it. I love it. Well, we've got a little bit more time left. We're going to learn some more about Dr. Jake and his golf performance programs. You're listening to the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking more with Dr. Jake Berman. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. You can learn more about me at www.drdianehayden.com. And I am talking today with Dr. Jake Berman, and his website is www.bermangolf.com. And also, we didn't mention this, Jake, but you have another website as well, which is, and correct me if this is not correct, but I believe it's www.bermanpt.com. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, BERMAN, P is in physical, T is in therapy.com. So, one of the things I know you wanted to make sure that we talked about that our listeners know is that if people are skeptical about this, because you were saying when we were on break, you were saying to me, how much money, literally thousands, that a lot of people end up spending on golf lessons or golf training, all kinds of stuff like that, and they just never seem to really get what they want out of them. And so I feel like people could be either skeptical or just be like, yeah, how much money am I going to spend again? So what do you want to say to somebody like that who's listening to this and really is just like, kind of been burned, maybe we'll say, and is skeptical? What would you say to them?
I love it. Absolutely love it. And the quickest answer is, what's the alternative? Keep doing the definition of insanity, going out to the driving range and banging bucket after bucket of balls, sweating bullets, getting frustrated and saying, "Oh yeah, I worked on my game today." And then you go out and you shoot the same crappy score again. That's the definition of insanity. Golf lessons don't work for me, so I'm just going to go to the range and re-ingrain the bad habits that I already have, re-ingrain the fact that I don't know what it feels like to fire my glutes or my core or get true shoulder turn I think I'm turning my body. It feels like it, but every time somebody takes a video of me, it's just my arms every time. So I'm going to go work on swinging my body better. That's the definition of insanity. And that's why we've come up with our free 30-minute taster session, where if you're in Naples, come into the office, come into the simulator room. We'll give you a free 30-minute session so that you know what you're getting into. You know, this is very different from anything you've ever experienced. If you're not in town, let's jump on a free 30-minute Zoom session. I don't know that I've ever had a 30-minute Zoom session with anybody that didn't leave that 30 minutes saying, okay, this is definitely different. You've got my attention now. So it only takes 30 minutes for you to know that this is apples and oranges. This is nothing you've ever experienced. And the vast majority of golfers, we're messed up in the head. Golf is one of these games where it's like you can just justify end spending of time just to shave a stroke, just to beat your buddies, just to not be the shortest ball off the tee, which I was. That drove me freaking nuts being the shortest ball off the tee. So we'll do anything to figure it out. The thing that we don't want to do is we don't want to be embarrassed. We don't want to be embarrassed that we spent $1,000 on golf lessons and we suck even worse. We don't want to be embarrassed that we spent 6 weeks trying to get our swing better and it's actually worse. So that's why we do the free 30-minute session is come get an idea of what it feels like. Come get an idea of what your program might look like. And especially if you're an out-of-towner, and you really take your game seriously, especially if you've got a membership at two clubs or more, you need to fly your ass down here and come feel what it feels like. And you will not be unhappy. Worst case scenario, you have to play one of the beautiful courses that we have down here. Come on, make a weekend out of it.
I would say if people have gotten this far and listening to this show, that they're absolutely going to contact you because you've pointed all those things out already. I mean, in my mind, listening it from an objective, listener, just what you've said about how different you are. If they've gotten this far in the show, I think they're going to pick up the phone and call you. Which, by the way, let's give them contact information so people know what's the best way to reach out to you, Jake.
Call or text 239-431-0232. Really, email is great because phones either get answered or they don't. We're in a hectic time right now with trying to handle all this growth that we're experiencing right now. But generally speaking, emails get responded to pretty quickly within a couple of days at the longest, hopefully same day. And that's distance@bermangolf.com. If you just email distance@bermangolf.com, it's almost impossible for us to miss that. And you got give us a couple of days because again, this thing has absolutely exploded in the past 6 months, especially with adding our online membership options that we have for our national and international audience. So those are the two best ways to get a hold of us. Try to avoid snail or smoke signals and carrier pigeons. Those don't typically get through this time of year.
You think? That's so funny. Do you want to talk a little bit about the memberships? You've got a little bit of time, so tell me about those.
Yes, so we've been working really hard on our YouTube channel over the past 3 years, and for whatever reason, over the past 8 to 12 months, it has absolutely exploded. And we started getting a ton of comments, good ones. There's a ton of bad ones, as anybody in the YouTube world knows. As
Yeah.
you get more successful, the critics really start getting louder. But we started getting a ton of comments from internet national, so all around the country, and then international. So a ton of people in Canada, a ton of people in the UK. Then we started getting people in New Zealand and Australia and a couple of places in South America, Central America. And we're going, they're asking for my book, like my physical copy of my book. And I'm going, crap, it's going to cost me $100 to ship it to them. I can't charge them $150 for this $20 book. What am I going to do? So long story short, we ended up spending the past 6 months behind the scenes developing and building out this really cool membership site where it is filled with high quality content, super easy to follow. If so easy caveman can do it. If you can open up an email, you can be extremely successful on this membership site. And it's been a ton of fun getting the responses back from our national and international membership community, because it's nothing like anything else that's available out there. This is really coming from a biomechanic standpoint. And if you do it right, you're going to get the results you're looking for. If you do it wrong, reach out. We're here to support you. So it's not like it's a ghost or you pay for something and you don't get to talk to anybody. We're doing regular calls every other week to the whole entire audience, Zoom calls where we're going over most commonly asked questions. So it's a ton of fun. It's been something that's been really exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's a great perk for the community, and people can obviously get to know you a little bit more and maybe interact with even other people that are struggling with the same issues they are.
Exactly. And it's really low entry point. I think the lowest price point we have is like $20, or I think we even have a couple of items on there that is $9.99
Wow.
just to get you over the edge, because this industry is so oversaturated with false golf profits that are promising the world, and it works for 1 out of 10 people, yet it was marketed to work for 10 out of 10 people. So the skepticism is out there. I get it. So I'm going to make the entry point super low. Let's build some trust, and then we can work your way up after you trust me.
That's awesome. So people can learn more about that at your website, I'm assuming, www.bermangolf.com. And then again, like you said, if people want to email you, it's distance@bermangolf.com.
Correct.
Awesome. So tell me one thing, we have just a minute left, but tell me one thing you're doing for fun when you're not working on your business, because it sounds like you've been working hard.
Yes. I used to say getting out and golfing as much as I possibly could. However, right now, at the time of this recording, I got a 4.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old and a third one on the way that'll be due in 2 months. So my
Woo!
time is really spent with my family. So every Saturday, weather permitting, we're out on the boat. We love being on the boat. My oldest has had the first record of being on the boat at 6 days old. And then
Awesome.
my youngest has the new record of being on the boat at 3 days old. So boating is a big deal for us. We love taking long weekend trips down to the Keys and back when weather's permitting. So
Awesome.
that's my fun spot in this season in life right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations. And thanks so much for being on the show and giving us all this knowledge today, Dr. Jake. And I want
That
to
was
thank all of you for tuning into the Dr. Diane Show. Please join me the first and third Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Have a great week, and I'll see you back here next time.
yeah.
Thank you for tuning into the Dr. Diane Show, revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. Tune in every Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on transformationtalkradio.com. Center your thoughts on what you want and shut the door on every suggestion of fear, worry, or lack from your own consciousness or the consciousness around you. Once you master that, everything is possible. To learn more about me, Dr. Diane, and receive a free digital subscription of my magazine, visit naturalnutmeg.com.